Hello everyone, thank you for joining me once again. Today we're going to paint a whimsical goldfish in watercolor. I will be using Sennelier watercolors on Arches cold press 9" by 12" block. I'm starting this painting with a wet on wet technique. I'm wetting the area I will be painting first, placing enough water on my paper to give it a nice sheen. I'm carefully staying within the lines of my drawing because I just want to stick with just the area that I'm going to paint for now. I'm using my size 4 Neptune quill brush here to add the water. I'll be using this on and off throughout my painting as well as the other brushes that you see beside me. Space here because I'm going to do similar colors and it's far enough away from the other part. I'll just leave a space in between the two areas so that they don't totally blend together. Basically, you want to avoid putting the color where you don't want it to blend in with the rest of your painting. You can work on several areas, or wet several areas anyway to begin with, and if you need to, come back again and re-wet them. So I'm going to start with a mixture of the Jaune Sennelier Fonce and Orange de Saturn. Now again, these are colors by Sennelier, one of my very favorite watercolors to work with. They're very smooth, they're made with honey, and they are just bright, vibrant, and they go on so nicely and they blend really nicely. I'm just going to dab a little yellow where I'm, just to start different places. And again, you can always choose to make this your own and pick a different color or different colors as we work. You can decide that ahead of time. So now I'm going to add some of the pink. It's a Rose Opera by Sennelier. I'm adding that to my yellow because I don't know, one of my favorite things to do is adding pink and yellow because you get variations of pinks, yellows, and orange. Unlike anything you're going to find in your paint palette. So you could just, depending on how much pink you add or how much yellow, you're going to get different tones. Oh, such really pretty colors. So I'm just adding that kind of to the top of this guy. And again, this is going to be my first layer. It's going to dry, and then I'll be wanting to, and everything dries duller, so it's not as bright and vibrant once it dries, so that's why we add more layers. And you can continue to add layers as you go, depending on how bright you want it, or if you want it more muted. That's entirely up to you. So my brush still has some pink in it, and I'm just kind of wetting the area below here. I'm going to be adding some blue to that, so it doesn't really matter that there's a little pink in there. So here I'm just wetting the tail and just adding some water, and again getting that nice sheen. And I'm not doing the whole tail, I'm just doing where I'm going to be placing my yellow and pink colors right now. And now I've added more of the pink here. So this is looking a little more pink or violet. Actually, this is I'm using the tone violet Cobalt, which is it's a like a mauve color kind of. And now I'm going to be adding the blue Cobalt, which the two colors, the blue Cobalt added to the tone violet Cobalt, they just, again, these are two of the colors I just love to mix together because they're just I don't know, just really, really pretty and different. I'm going to add some of that to the underbody here as well, and defining the a little shadow on the gills. Again, now I'm going to come back with the yellow and the orange to the end of the tail. And it's going to I'm going to leave some white areas, I think, so that it gives it some highlights. And again, you know, and it's still wet, and my brush is pretty wet, so it's just got to kind of bleed out or blend in, or however you want to phrase it. I'm going to add some more pink in here. And here, see, with that pink added to the yellow and the already pink or violet, tone violet that's in there, we're getting some more orange tones in here now. Now for a little help drying. This tool is great when you don't want to stop your creative flow. I do use it every now and then. Just a little bit. Get them all nice and dry. Now that my fish is completely dry, I'm again wetting the areas that I'm going to be working on. I'm going around the areas that I want to avoid for right now. Just adding water where I'm going to be placing my next colors. Still looking for that sheen as well. When you add the water, you want just enough to give you a sheen, not too much. You don't want it to pool or anything. Now here, you can see it's still not totally dry because I'm actually blending, but I kind of like what happened there. So now I'm using the blue Cobalt fonts and some blue Indanthrene. And I'm going to use this on the bottom of my fish to create some strong shadow areas. Adding some interest to this painting as well, instead of it all just being pinks and purples and yellows. Blending it in with that tone violet down here. Just love this combination. Now I'm just softening the edges of where I've already laid my paint, just with a wet brush, no color, and it's just kind of making everything soft and blend in a little better together. So now I'm adding a little of the tone violet Cobalt to the blue. Just look at that pop of color. Ah, I love this. So pretty. This is why I love watercolors, because sometimes you're surprised at the color that comes out when you mix different colors together. I'm just going to dab a little bit of this into the yellow here to give it some scale texture, you know, like fish scales. Just nothing precise, nothing defined. Adding a little bit more of that tone violet Cobalt over on this side. Blending it in with the blues. And blending a little more in with the yellow here. And now I want the tail to be a little brighter, so I'm going to add more of my yellow mixture. Just kind of brighten everything up. Again, like I said, the first layer usually isn't so bright. And that's why we keep adding layers until you get the effect that you want. Now you may like it lighter. I wanted this a little brighter, so I'm going to add a little more yellow to everything. Just dabbing in some more here to give it more of that texture for the scales. And now I'm going to wet the face just to so I can start brightening up this part of the fish and the top here. Adding a little more of the pink. It's already getting nice and pretty and bright. Just adding a little here and there. Just adding some more of that rose opera. Defining the outside edges here. Okay, now I'm going to work on the top fins. And again, this wet on wet technique. So I'm going to wet the area that I'm going to be painting. I've got a really light drawing underneath it, kind of my guidelines to my fins. Just adding a little water. Defining the edges. I'm glad the camera's picking up this nice sheen that's going on here. Another fin here I'm going to do as well at the same time because they're going to be the same colors. Again, I'm using the Jaune yellow for the top parts of the fins, blending it downward toward the fish's body a little bit. Trying to keep it brighter, the yellow at the top, because I'm going to add different colors at the base where the fin meets the body. Tapping this in a little bit here with the tip of my brush. Letting it blend into the wet area below. Drawing it up toward the edges here. Do the same process on this fin here. Making the brighter yellow toward the tips. I'm adding a lighter pink to the base of the fins for my first layer. Just a really light coat, just to start the blending process. And I'm drawing the pink into the yellow with the tip of my size 4 Neptune quill brush. It's kind of my all-purpose go-to. I really am enjoying using this brush. Repeating the same process on the other fin and adding a little more of the pink to the top of the body of the fish as well. I'm going to draw that pink down into my fins with the very tip of my brush. And now I'm just going to dab a little extra of that pink on the top of the body and on the side here to give it some more texture. Again, creating that look of those scales on the fish. To wet the bottom fins and the side fin. Still a little pink on my brush, but that's okay because I'm going to have some pink in here anyway. Again, just giving it a nice sheen. Not too much, but not too little. Got a few fins going here. Using the jaune yellow again, and I'm giving the bottom fins a lighter shade as they're more delicate than the upper fins, so they're a little more see-through. Take a little bit of that pink. Just going to draw it through the yellow, kind of creating my first layer of thin lines. You know, the lines that go through the fins. Very lightly on the bottom fins to begin with. Some of that. I've got like a clean brush here, and I'm just kind of pulling some of that water off to lighten up the areas on that top fin there. Just pulling that through. Now I'm using my scrubber brush, and what I'm trying to achieve here is I'm removing some of the color so that we can see some of the lines that you would see in the tail fin of a fish or in the rest of the fins on the fish. And the scrubber brush, as long as you don't use it too hard, you can pull color off, and you can also, as you see I'm doing right here, kind of pulling the color through from the blue into the yellow. So there's a whole bunch of ways that you can use this scrubber brush. I'm making sure that it's wet, and then I'm kind of just drawing the color where I want it and removing some of the color as well. Just be sure you don't scrub too hard on your painting. You just want to give it a light touch. Just remove the excess water on the side of your jar or whatever you're using to hold your water, and then and just use light strokes. And you can repeat them, but just don't do it too hard. And I'm going through the top fin here. And again, I'm just kind of lightening some of the areas. As you can see, it's making more definition for the fin lines. And here I'm just going to remove some of the paint on the top of my fish. Again, giving some highlights to some of the scales that are quote unquote there. And you can do as many or as or as few as you want. It's entirely up to you. There's different ways of doing fins. I could take a fine line brush and draw them in. And I've done that before, and I'll do that again. This fish, I just thought I'd try something new and different, and instead of defining them with paint, I'm defining them by removing paint. And again, I'm going to do that down here, the yellow, on the bottom of the fin. I want to soften these edges here. They're a little too sharp, whereas a real fish would have a very flowy, kind of soft edge to his fins. So that's what I'm trying to achieve. And now I'm taking that violet watercolor, and I'm drawing some thin lines with my Dagger brush. Very thin lines, just running it through the light color of the lower fins. You just brace your hand sometimes on the paper and just give it a nice one stroke flow per line. Generally you can achieve a nice smooth line. Here as well. Give a little stronger color toward the edges, the outside edge, and the base of this fin. And this is a 3/8 inch Neptune dagger that I'm using. Just pulling that pink up through, very light on my brush, just to give the fin some more lines. Just starting at the base and lightly drawing upward with my brush. Here for some shadowing, and again pulling that pink mixture through the yellow. Stronger color at the base of that fin and lighter as it goes toward the ends of the fin. Now that the first layers of detail have dried, I'm going to add some stronger color to the detail lines here. Now I have some of that tone violet mixed with some of the yellow, so now I have that more orangey kind of pink, and I've got that on my brush, and I'm just kind of drawing it through the fish's tail, just giving some more depth back on the fins. Okay, now I'm using my size 2 Neptune round to get very small lines around the eye, kind of defining the first layer of defining this eye, the eye socket here on the fish. I'm kind of filling this in with a little bit of that violet color. A little bit of that yellow in here. I want to kind of blend it so it looks more natural, not like it's just one weird strong color that doesn't go with the fish. And now I'm taking that violet mixed with the blue, and I'm just kind of defining the gills here. Giving a little bit of detail to his face. Same, a little color on my brush still, but I'm just wetting the lips of the fish here. And I'll define those in a minute. Just getting kind of the water where I want the color to be. And And we'll kind of define. I've got some bubbles drawn here. I don't know if you guys can see those or not, but I'm just kind of giving them their outline here. Adding a little water in the center, and that makes the color kind of all blend together. I'm going back to the eye now because the outer part that I just did is dry, and now I'm going to do the eyeball. And I am using a blue Indanthrene for the first layer, leaving a little white spot for the highlight. And I'm going to outline the lips while I have that color on my brush. So it looks more like kind of give it a depth here, not just lining it but giving it a shadow as well. And taking a wet brush now and putting some water here so that that line will kind of blend into that and it won't be so harsh. This one and this one. Up that eye a little more. Adding a little bit more of the blue Indanthrene here to give it some more definition. It needs to be a little more defined, I think. Too. Just a little more definition, a little more outline. You want certain things in your painting to pop. So I'm going to add a little water here, and it's going to blend that line a little more into the lip and give the lip a little color, and a little bit of more color on the upper nose here, part of that fish. I'm just going to dab in some of that that violet through here just to give some texture, and I'm going to add some more definition to the eyes. Just a little more detail. So again with my quill brush, now I've got some of the yellow, the Jaune Senlier mixed with the orange de Saturn, and I'm just kind of sideways taking my brush and kind of blending it, like just pulling it through so it's not real defined. It's just giving some shadows on the fins here, just at the base. And dabbing a little on the top part of the fish here. It's all about the layers. Kind of outlining those little circle places that I took the paint off. Just a little bit, and just dabbing some color. Just that side of that brush is wet, so I'm just going to pull a little bit of this through. Just blending it a little more so it's not so harsh. Softening it. A little pink left on my brush. I'm going to pull that through on the tail fin. And a few more spots through the fins here. A little more of that violet color on the top here. A little more definition. A little more depth. interest here. Okay, I'm using my size 10 Zen oval wash brush here. I'm going to be pulling off some of the color on the fins so that I have more definition on my lines and the lines look sharper. This oval wash brush you can use to remove paint, and you can also use it to blend, and I'm kind of doing a little bit of both here just to define these fins, and especially in this one area here. I think the blue, where the blue met the yellow, is a little harsh. And so here I'm just going to define these lines a little more. So now I think I want this guy to be brighter. So one of the things I really love to do when I want something to come out brighter than it appears that it is, I will just grab some of my yellow. In this case, I'm using the jaune yellow. And I've got a wet brush, and I'm just taking this yellow and I'm going to blend it all the way, just adding this to the fins, and I'm going to add it to the body. I'm going to add it to all the pink and yellow areas, not to the blue areas, because that would make it more dull. But when you're adding it to the lighter colors, it's brightening your subject. I find that I do this a lot of times when I first say, like, if I have a painting that I find that it looks a little dull, if I want to brighten it up, I'll just grab one of my yellows. And Suddenly offers, what, like 7 in my palette. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different yellows. The other thing that I do so that I get the right one or a mixture of yellows, I will have a piece of paper on the side, and I will put my original color down. In this case, that would be the violet colors with that thin layer of the yellow and orange. And I will then test my different yellows to see which one actually makes my painting pop even more. So you can do that with a lot of different colors too. So you can use yellows to brighten up greens, you can use yellows to brighten up oranges, you can use yellows to brighten up reds. You just need to experiment and just don't hold yourself down to one thing. So if you ever, a lot of people ask, how do I brighten up my painting? Add yellow. Add a yellow. Yellow to green, it'll make it pop like really, really, really nicely. Look how much brighter he looks now. I really like this now. Definitely what I was going for. Blend that in toward the tips here. Dot in a little bit more of the pink. And here I've got some pink on my brush, and I'm just going to add a little more pink, the violet to the edges, the base of the fins, just to give them a little more depth. And a little bit touching up here. A little more pink to the face. I keep saying pink. It's the violet. The tone violet. Tone violet cobalt. Just dabbing that in. You know, they say a painting is never finished, and you got to decide when enough is enough. And I'm having fun, and I like to try to add a little definition. Sometimes if you just walk away and look at your painting from a distance, you can see what you might need. And another helpful hint that I have is, what I like to do is when I take a photo of my finished, quote-unquote, finished painting, then I can actually see it like on my phone, And that a lot of times will tell me what it really needs. I don't know how that works, but it just, like, better than looking at it like straight on. If I see a photo of it, I can tell more so what I need to add or take away from the painting. Using my size 6 round, I am now with my, it's wet, a wet brush, and I've added some gold metallic to my brush. I figured, you know what? He's a goldfish. He needs to shimmer. So we are actually adding a little bit of gold shimmer to different areas. This is gonna, I'm just kind of like splashing it in with my brush. I'm not following any lines or anything like that. Just kind of dabbing it here and there, pulling it through the fins. Gold metallic is another way to actually make your painting just have that extra special something. And if you're doing a fish or something like that, you know, they're going to be shimmering anyway in the water and in real life. So kind of mimicking that by adding this gold shimmer, the gold metallic. Just dabbing it all through here, the pinks and the yellow portions. I think I'll add it to the blue as well. Just dabbing it lightly through here. Top of the fish. So this is the final painting. At least I'm going to call it final. I'm going to call it done. Let me see if I can show you with the camera how this is shimmering. There's a gold shimmer to it. And yeah, we'll call this one finished. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I look forward to seeing you again. Thanks for joining me.